Namaskar, hello, I am Baijayant Jay Panda. Starting today, I am writing a monthly column in the Hindustan Times titled Plain Speaking. In today's column, I have written about the National Register of Citizens, NRC, which is being conducted in Assam under the Supreme Court's monitoring and has generated some controversy. Now, let us see this in a global context. These issues about immigration and illegal immigration happen in other countries as well. For example, in the US. Recently, when the Democratic Party had a debate on being asked whether candidates would support government-funded medical services for illegal immigrants, all the Democratic candidates raised their hands. Now, some pundits are saying that this will cost them in the next elections, but that's for the future. Now, this view about not believing in the old concept of nationhood and citizenship and being against nationalism is a view held by people who describe themselves as liberals. But as the author Steven Pinker has pointed out, liberalism itself has shifted very far to the left compared to what its original tenets used to be. So, for example, it was only a few decades ago that leftists were pro-nationalism as long as it was fused with Marxist-involved liberation movements. Now, we have a similar situation in India where people describing themselves as liberals have taken more or less a similar stand. They have some foreign support. In fact, some critics of the present Modi government are claiming that it is the BJP's so-called Hindu nationalism which is behind this xenophobic move to conduct the NRC. But the reality is that this is an issue that is many decades old and has been ruled on by the Supreme Court, and has also been, the legacy of this goes back to when the Congress party was in government and the Assam Accord was signed by then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in the mid-1980s. Now, when something is conducted on such a scale involving millions of people, it is bound to happen that allegations would be made about mistakes, and so is the case here. In two very widely publicized cases, one woman whose citizenship had been overruled, the authorities have now admitted that it was a case of misidentification, and her citizenship has been restored and she has been released from detention. In another case, somebody who served for many years in the Indian Army has also been found to be a non-citizen, but he has been given bail while awaiting an ultimate adjudication as to whether he was a citizen or not. Now, these cases have led to a lot of outrage, but we must also keep in mind that they represent the other side of a quandary, because what used to be the case was that for many decades no action was being taken on laws passed by Parliament and by the Assam Accord signed by the government to in fact establish a role of citizens. Another argument that is being made against the government is that it is xenophobic because of a 2016 law which gives preferential treatment to immigrants who have come from 3 neighboring countries who are either Hindus or Christians or Parsis or Sikhs or Buddhists, in other words, not Muslim. But the reality is, if you look closer, there is a widely accepted norm in the world that when refugees are concerned, those who are escaping persecution get a higher standing rather than those who are only looking for better economic opportunities. And these categories of citizens are indeed facing persecution, and there has been widely documented cases of threats to their lives in these 3 South Asian countries where they are the minorities. So it's not xenophobic at all, it actually meets quite a liberal norm which is applied in other parts of the world. But even if one citizen were to be unjustly deprived of his or her citizenship, that would be one too many. So we must indeed take care that every check and balance is in place, that nobody is unfairly denied their citizenship, but without going back to the old stalemate where no action was taken for many decades. In conclusion, I would once again like to cite the author Steven Pinker, who warns against Social critics' so-called standard formula for generating panic is to cite an anecdote and then claim that that is a trend and thus it is a crisis. That is not necessarily so.